All right, Jay, I want to play a little game with you about this defense, the fire department. I'm going to name a defender, and you tell me if he's all Big Ten and if he's first team, second team, or third team. I want to know how many all Big Ten defenders are on this team. Johnny Newton.
First team all Big Ten.
Is he Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year?
I think he's in the top three. I mean, we've got but if you look at every week, I mean, I don't think he has one necessarily splash game, but he's like the guy from, I'm going to mispronounce the guy's name, from Ohio State who played Penn State, right? But I think you look at what he does as far as from pressure and activity. I think he's definitely a first team Big Ten. He's probably in the All-American conversation as well.
Keith Randolph.
I think Keith's the second all Big Ten player. I actually think that going in, I had Keith rated higher as Johnny. I don't think Keith has played bad. I actually think he's played really well. I think Johnny has been able to make a few more splash plays in as far as pressuring the quarterback. I feel like Keith, I think they're both good. I think Keith is a second team all Big Ten guy right now. He could be first, however he trends in some of these bigger games. I think Keith is really solid on the run. If you see the amount of coverage with his wingspan he actually gets on a run play, it's incredible. The use of his hands. I do think Johnny has been a little bit more advanced when it comes to pass rushing and getting to the quarterback. And I think that's what gives Johnny a little bit of the edge as far as first or second team, but great players.
I'm glad you mentioned this guy because I'm going to keep hyping him. Seth Coleman.
I think Seth Coleman could be a first team all Big Ten player. I don't think he necessarily started as fast, struggled in the Wyoming game, a little bit in the Indiana game, but you talk about a guy that's improved the most. He's probably my most improved defensive player this year. And I think you look at the numbers, they speak for themselves as far as actual disruptive game-changing plays. I believe it was it Seth Coleman? Who hit Petrus? Was Seth Coleman?
Well,
or no?
Morgan was Akis. Petrus, yes, was Coleman, and Coleman hit Thompson on the interception.
Right. I think, but two of the bigger picks. I mean, these are plays that they don't count as sacks, but they're exponentially greater than sacks. So game-changing plays, right? I mean, that's a game-changing play. It goes as a quarterback hit, but that quarterback hit created 2 turnovers, right? So all of those right there is something I think that he's a first team all Big Ten player.
I agree. I think he's playing as well as anybody. Gabe Akis, a freshman.
Yeah, I think Gabe's going to be an honorable mention all Big Ten. I think he's going to be first team, freshman all Big Ten. I think he'll be a freshman all American. I do. I think partially you have so many players on this defensive line that you can't have everybody be first team from Illinois, but I think he's an honorable mention guy. I do think he's a future, first team all Big Ten, possibly all American and an NFL player.
I was gonna say Calvin Avery, the linebackers, probably not, but they've done their job well for the most part, right? Like I don't think any of those guys are all Big Ten, even though we've highlighted Calvin's had some really good performances.
Yeah, I think Calvin's been really solid. For what you ask a nose tackle to do. A nose tackle will never have the production usually of a 4 technique, a 4-eye, which is what Johnny and Keith are, or defensive end, just by nature of kind of how they line up. Linebacker wise, I think if you look at the tape, I think Tariq Barnes, could be an honorable mention guy. I think he's a really solid football player. And, I don't think D'Arcangelo will get awards, but I think for what they ask him to do and his contributions, I think he's very solid. And, I first time I've seen it, but I think Calvin Hart has had a cast on his hand. I saw that in some hype video, and I think it was like an orange cast. So it's kind of, but, I think Calvin Hart's probably been playing hurt. We just don't know about it. Right. So, I mean, there's probably some stuff involved there that he could be better if he wasn't so banged up.
I thought he had one of his better games against Nebraska, by the way. Devin Witherspoon, I think it's a pretty clear yes.
I mean, Devin Witherspoon, there was some group that said he's going to be like the 10th pick overall or something. Last week they came out. I mean, what he did to Trey Palmer was, this is a guy, and Mark Whipple's been known to really highlight receivers. Last year they had that receiver. I can't remember. He played for Pitt and then transferred to USC. He was like the transfer portal guy. Who's that?
Jordan Addison. Yeah, I want
Jordan
I want him on the Bears, Jay.
Yeah, Jordan Addison, great player, right? So he's got a way to highlight great receivers, and he's done that with Trey Palmer. And Palmer is such a non-factor. And Spoon is one, we know he can get in people's head, but he's so physical at the point of attack. I don't think he had a clean release the whole time. And it kind of felt, I don't know if it was in, they just kind of gave up on getting the ball to him. Looking for him, play design. I know the backup quarterback was in. I think Witherspoon is, if you were to say who's the best football player on our team right now, I would actually think it's Witherspoon. I know he doesn't get the carries of Chase Brown, or he's not Johnny Newton, but as far as per position, who grades the highest, who has the best, and I would say it's Devin Witherspoon.
He's got the most edge of anybody. This whole defense has a huge edge to it. We'll get to Quan Martin and his game, but I wish I had the all 22 to see exactly what he was doing. The TV doesn't show, Palmer against Devin Witherspoon a lot, but boy, Jay, what he, and I think Quan was on him a lot too. And Quan playing free safety and everywhere was pretty impressive. They were just jamming him, it seemed like.
Yeah. I think the most important, Quan makes it look easy. Like that first pick, he just looks easy. I never met a guy like Quan who, the pick he had at Minnesota was incredible. The pick he got here was, he didn't look up till late and just kind of put his hands up and caught it. Then the one he saw, he didn't catch, which was interesting. But, I think what's surprising about Quan, I think since he's been here, he's always been a great athlete, right? Athleticism has never been the issue, but I see him playing with really good technique, and he's physical. He had a big hit on the tight end on 3rd and 1. He had a big hit on the last fumble where he just picked up the guy and, like a sack of flour and dumped him. So Quan's I've seen him grow. Witherspoon has always been physical. Sydney has always been physical. I've seen Quan really grow in his physicality and Quan's versatility. I don't know what position you say Quan is. If there was a nickelback to say hey, I don't see how there's a better nickelback in the conference. I really don't. So I know that it's going to end up with like 2 or 3, all Big Ten players, but I would say that, he's at least a second team all Big Ten player. But I don't know if there's a position for nickelback, which there usually is not. I would say he would be first team because he does a lot of different things.
I think he'll probably be at safety. I would have him first team. If my vote were due today, I would have him and Devin first team for sure. Sydney kind of had his moment, right? Like he's played well all year. I think you and I, Jay, know the importance of a rover kind of safety like that to this defense. But would you have him all Big Ten?
Well, here's the crazy thing is Kendall's got the interceptions, right? But I guess Quan's catching up. And I heard PJ say this after the game. Sidney Brown, PJ Flex said this after the Minnesota game. He said, Sidney Brown has the ability to be on the line of scrimmage and also play half the field. That's an incredible ability to have. I think when you look at from the leadership perspective that he brings, the physicality, as coach says, generating a lot of power in a short space, and got 2 picks this game. I don't know if he's necessary. And here's with Sydney, he takes enough chances as a rover near the ball. He's going to miss some tackles. He's going to hit some people, right? If you had to tell me who do I got to take, Quan or Sydney for this, and I hate to play this game, right? But I think Sydney does so much from everything from leadership to run game and support. I would take Sydney, and I would actually put Sydney as a first team defender. I know he doesn't necessarily have maybe the coverage skills. He's often on the tight end, but maybe not the coverage skills of Quan. Nor the ball skills of Quan. But I just think what he does, I think Sydney's a first team guy when you think of the disruption he causes and the help in the run game that he does.
Kendall might have the stats for it with his interceptions and Taz Nicholson's played really well. So I don't know if those guys get on there. Kendall might, based on if guys are just going.
I think Kendall's going to be. I think he gets hurt by the fact that Kirby got on there last year with 5, and maybe it's just the same defense and whatnot. I think he'll be honorable mention at least. But we've been saying this a long time. Since the beginning of. Probably since week 2 that we thought there was 5 legit NFL players on this team. the three defensive backs, Brown, Martin, and Witherspoon, and Newton and Randolph. How many of those guys come back? I'm not necessarily sure. We won't speculate on that, but Witherspoon's probably a guy that it would be hard pressed to come back with some of the ratings he's getting initially, if he stays healthy. And it makes me burp a little bit. There you go.
Well, yeah, that's, and then you have Akis eventually. I think Seth Coleman.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's 7 guys, all Big Ten. Is that
receiver.
what we're settling on? 7 or 8 all Big Ten defenders on this defense?
I mean, it seems silly to do because Illinois. I don't know if Illinois ever had that.
It's the best defense in the country right now, statistically. So it's not ridiculous.
So it's got a lot of it. I think the Michigan game will go a long way in where these guys kind of line up, because they're going to be competing against guys from Michigan and Ohio State for those, all Big Ten spots. So, but they've done it, and they've done it consistently week in and week out. So it's a special D. Does Seth Coleman have a chance to come back? He's
got 2 more years if he wants it. He's the 4th year. He's the 4th year sophomore, Jay. I know that always trips you up, but yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I think should start getting NFL. I mean, the length and athleticism and speed, and I mean, he dropped back in coverage, Jay, and had a pass breakup.
Yeah, no, I think we could have 2 monster defensive ends. And I think Johnny, depending on how he finished the game, could be gone, but I think Keith would probably stay. Again, this is all speculation. I thought Kalen Tolson would never leave, and he left. Right. So, I mean, I think Brett's thing is if they're a 1st or 2nd round pick, we're going to bless you and hey, it's time to go. But if you're a 3rd round pick and we could develop you into a 1st or 2nd round pick, like let's do that, because you do kind of get pigeonholed, whether you're a free agent or a 3rd round pick. That first 3 or 4 years, that's what you're going to be paid no matter what. And so it's a big difference.